I am joined by Senator McCain, of course, such a critical player on this Syria issue. Senator, thank you for the time this morning.
Thanks.
You had this meeting with the president yesterday. You're not totally on board yet, but more on board than you were before.
Well, I was encouraged by the fact that the president will pursue a strategy that degrades Bashar al-Assad's capability to deliver chemical weapons and dramatically increase support for the Free Syrian Army. Those are key elements because the strategy has to change to give the momentum, take the momentum on the battlefield away from Bashar al-Assad.
Are you convinced, after having that conversation with the president, that he can now rally the kind of support he needs here in the Senate and in the House of Representatives to get this resolution passed?
I don't know. I think perhaps, and I certainly wouldn't tell the president what to do, but he may have to, in my view, from the Oval Office, speak directly to the American people and explain to them what's at stake here. But the president made a serious error when he said, one, that there would be red lines, two, when those red lines were crossed, saying that he would strike, and then saying that he had to get the permission of Congress. Now, if he'd said, I will strike with the agreement of Congress, that's one thing. But the appearance is clearly that he has backtracked, and that encourages our enemies and dispirits our friends.
You said yesterday that if the president doesn't get this authority, it would be catastrophic. Tell me why you think that.
Well, the credibility of the United States would be very much in question. When a president of the most powerful nation in the world said if certain things happen, that the United States will take certain actions, and then don't. And they don't understand the nuances of our government. They just know that the president threatened to act and didn't. So I think it would have serious consequences. But also, if this resolution is just for some pinprick cruise missile strikes, I can't support that either.
Well, then there's some members of Congress who say they can't support expanding this resolution. They'd like to see it whittled down somewhat. It sounds like there's a tension there between you and some of these other folks the president's trying to rally support from.
Oh, I think it's a very difficult situation for the president. And I have sympathy for him. But he got himself into this situation. And again, he may have to talk directly to the American people. And I want to talk to the people that I represent in Arizona.
And what is your message to Americans right now who are war-weary? They've seen what happened in Afghanistan. They remember the intelligence fiasco of Iraq. They see this and they say, here we go again.
Americans are not only war-weary, they're confused because there's never been a concrete plan or strategy presented to them. And we have a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff who says it doesn't matter when we strike. That flies against everything I have ever known and heard of, to give your enemy weeks of warning. But the fact is that we have to have a strategy, and that strategy is regime change. And anything short of that path, I think, would be harmful in the long run, as much as turning it down right away.
I know that you and Senator Graham made a big point that this has perhaps as much to do with Iran as it does Syria.
That's the key point that I think the American people probably don't understand as well as they should. Iran is involved. Russia's involved. The conflict is expanding. It's now Iraq is unraveling and is becoming a base for al-Qaeda with Iraq and Syria. Lebanon is destabilized. The King of Jordan can't remain in power with these kinds of pressures. So this conflict is spreading throughout the region, and that has not to mention the human side of it, which is so appalling. Seeing those pictures of those bodies of those children stacked up is bound to appeal to the better nature, angels of our nature.
Final question for you. This is a big political gamble for this president, isn't it? He's rolling the dice.
I think it's not only a big political gamble. I think that the credibility of the United States of America is on the line, and that is really a big gamble, because I think the world is probably more unsettled in many respects and more dangerous than it has been since the end of the Cold War.